Imagine trying to sell a $10 million enterprise-wide automated logistics system to municipal government over a Zoom call.
Oh, good luck with that. It's practically impossible.
Like, you do not overhaul a city's entire infrastructure or, a multinational supply chain because you saw a slick slide deck.
Yeah, definitely not.
At that level of improvement, you really need to look the lead engineer in the eye. You need to physically touch the hardware.
Exactly. You have to pressure test the software in real time right there in the room. That physical tangibility is, well, it's really the ultimate bottleneck in deep tech.
Yeah.
Because the algorithms might live in the cloud, but the contracts, the actual big money, those are signed in a room.
Which brings us to today's deep dive. We're looking at a really intriguing stack of source material today, detailing the upcoming 9th edition of AI Expo Africa 2026.
Yeah, happening this October 28th and 29th.
Right, at the Sandton Convention Center in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
But for you listening, we aren't just, reading an event brochure to you.
No, not at all.
The mission here is to really unpack the mechanics of this specific gathering. We want to understand how trust and tangibility are engineered in the African tech ecosystem.
But it's huge.
It really is. We're looking at its massive scale, the highly curated audience, and what it all reviews about the real-world application of smart tech right now.
Yeah, and for anyone out there listening who wants to understand the trajectory of enterprise technology, the African market is a critical indicator.
Absolutely.
And understanding the structural design of this specific expo acts as like a master key to that entire market. The first element to dissect in these documents is just the sheer gravitational pull of the event itself. This is their 9th successful year.
Yeah, which makes it the largest and longest-running business-focused AI and smart tech trade event in the entire region.
Right. And let's just pause on that 9-year timeline for a second.
Oh, yeah. In the tech sector, 9 years is basically a geological epoch.
Seriously. If they started 9 years ago, they completely predate the current generative AI boom.
Right, they survived the whole crypto pivot.
Yeah, the metaverse, hype cycle, all of it. They were laying the foundation for an AI marketplace way before mainstream venture capital was even looking at the sector over there.
Exactly. It's like this event has become the technological nervous system for the continent. And that longevity is why the scale of the 2026 event looks the way it does.
Yeah, the numbers are kind of wild.
They really are. We are talking about a 10,000 square foot expo hall.
Wow.
Yeah. And they're projecting over 3,500 unique delegates, which draws from this broader year-round community of over 50,000 smart tech practitioners.
That's a massive ecosystem.
It is. You've got 165 unique companies involved with 100 vendors physically showcasing their solutions.
Yeah.
And the source material puts a really heavy, non-negotiable emphasis on the fact that this is strictly an in-person event.
Which I think is so fascinating because, in a post-pandemic world, hybrid events are just the default now.
Yeah, everyone expects a virtual ticket option.
Right. So forcing thousands of deep tech practitioners to actually travel to Johannesburg, that's a bold line in the sand.
It really reinforces what we were just talking about, right?
Yeah.
Trust. If you want to do business here, you have to physically show up.
Exactly. It creates a high barrier to entry, which is, honestly, it's a feature, not a bug.
Oh, say more about that. How is that a feature?
Well, think about it. When a vendor commits the time and money to build out a physical showcase in a 10,000 square foot hall, they are signaling market stability.
Right.
They're basically proving, hey, we have the operational capacity to actually support the African enterprise market.
Okay, that makes total sense. But I have to play devil's advocate for a minute.
Go for it.
A massive hall full of thousands of people doesn't inherently mean real business is being done. Like a crowded room can just be a crowded room.
That's fair.
And this leads to a statistic in the source material that immediately made me, reach for a red pen. The documents claim this unparalleled audience quality.
Yeah, the 80% stat.
Yes. They specifically state that over 80% of the attendees are actual decision makers.
It's a staggering number for an event of that size.
I'll be honest, my initial instinct is to push back hard on that.
Yeah.
Like if there are 3,500 people, 80% means roughly 2,800 actual check writers.
Which sounds incredibly high.
Right. At most massive trade events, the floor is so heavily diluted. You have, students hunting for free lanyards, junior staff sent to just take notes.
Yeah, or casual browsers who just want to see a robot dog do a backflip.
Exactly. So how do the organizers actually physically engineer out the browsers to achieve an 80% concentration of real buyers?
Well, you definitely don't get to that concentration by accident. You have to structurally repel the casual observer and heavily, heavily incentivize the executive.
Okay, so how do they do that?
The source material actually outlines the mechanics of it. First, they focus their marketing and outreach heavily on enterprise CxOs, chief executive officers, CIOs,
It's just
CTOs.
standard marketing.
But the real mechanism that guarantees those people actually show up is the scheduling of 8 private CxO roundtable vendor briefing sessions.
Oh, wow. So they're building VIP enclaves within the broader event.
Precisely. You do not schedule 8 closed-door, high-level executive briefings unless you have already secured the executives to fill those seats, right?
That's a great point.
They design these specialized, really guarded environments where these leaders can discuss, sensitive deployment challenges totally away from the public expo floor.
So you basically build the specific gravity required to pull in the heavy hitters.
Exactly. And it extends beyond just the corporate buyers, too. The attendee mix aggressively targets government officials, Tier 1 and 2 deployment providers, and international trade missions.
Yeah, I noticed that in the documents.
Right. They feature statements from people like Michael Shapiro, who is the Trade Commissioner for the Canadian High Commission, and Guillem Martinez-Rura from the UNITU, the International Telecommunication Union.
Let's actually unpack that for a second. Why are the UN, ITU, and foreign trade commissions wandering the expo floor in Sandton?
Well, it's not to buy a couple of software licenses.
Exactly. They aren't there to buy enterprise software for a local office. They are there to gauge the entire ecosystem.
Right. They're setting regulatory standards, mapping out international trade corridors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you have foreign governments using your event to measure a continent's technological maturity, the environment is, without a doubt, buyer-driven.
Absolutely. And, the caliber of that audience actually forces the content of the event to evolve, too.
How so?
Well, if you have 2,800 decision makers and international delegates, you can't just put them in a standard lecture hall with some generic, intro to machine learning PowerPoint.
Right, they would just walk out.
Exactly. You need an environment built for complex, immediate problem solving. Which brings us to the actual program itself.
Yes, the agenda. Looking at the two-day agenda in these documents, it is incredibly dense. It functions much more like an interactive ecosystem than a traditional conference.
Oh, for sure.
We're looking at a 4-track speaking program featuring 52 different talks and panels. Plus, there are 8-track keynotes and 2 plenary keynote sessions to set the overarching vision.
And the topics they've selected for those 52 talks operate almost like a diagnostic scan of the most critical challenges facing global enterprise today.
Yeah, it's very targeted.
They're tackling generative and agentic business solutions, large language models versus small language models, and sovereign AI.
Let's actually break down a few of those terms for the listeners because I think they reveal so much about what this specific audience actually needs.
Let's do it.
Take agentic business solutions. For anyone not deep in the tech weeds, this isn't just a basic chatbot answering customer service questions.
No, not at all.
Agentic AI refers to systems that actually have agency. Systems that can independently execute tasks, navigate complex software, or even make purchasing decisions based on parameters.
Right, and that leap from generative AI, which just creates content, to agentic AI, which takes action that is the current frontier for enterprise efficiency.
It's massive.
And the fact that they're focusing so heavily on small language models, or SLMs, alongside the massive LLMs, is incredibly telling for the African context.
So why are small language models so crucial here? Because, an LLM requires massive server farms and incredible amounts of continuous data and power to run.
Right.
But an SLM is highly localized, trained on a specific, narrow set of data. Why is that essential for a buyer sitting in Nairobi or Johannesburg?
It really comes down to 2 things: infrastructure and latency.
Okay.
If you're operating a supply chain in an environment with bandwidth constraints, or say, you need your AI to understand highly specific local dialects and colloquialisms.
Right, without pinging a server all the way in California.
Exactly. In that case, an SLM is just far more efficient, it's way cheaper to run, and it's highly secure.
And that security aspect ties directly into the third major theme on the agenda, sovereign AI.
Yes. Sovereign AI is a massive, massive priority for governments and large enterprises across the continent right now.
For those who don't know, it's basically the concept of keeping critical data, your models, and your compute infrastructure entirely within national borders.
Right. Exactly. Because if you are a South African bank or a Kenyan healthcare provider,
Yeah.
routing highly sensitive citizen data through European or American servers,
Yeah, that creates massive regulatory and security liabilities.
it's a nightmare. So the agenda isn't just importing generic Silicon Valley talking points. It is ruthlessly focused on the operational realities of the African market.
And what's really cool is how the physical layout of the event actually mirrors that practicality.
Oh, the zones.
Yeah, the sources describe all these dedicated areas on the floor.
Uh-huh.
A robot and drone zone, an R&D zone, a women in AI pavilion, and a South African AI Association pavilion.
And beyond just looking at stuff, they run 8 CPD accredited workshops.
Wait, CPD is continuous professional development, right?
Yes,
Right.
and they are training 200 delegates per class directly on the premises.
That is wild. If we look at this from an architectural standpoint, the event is literally built like a sales funnel made of drywall.
Ha! I love that analogy.
Now think about it. You start at the very top of the funnel in a massive plenary keynote, absorbing the broad theoretical shifts in AI.
Hmm.
Then you walk out onto the floor, the funnel narrows, and you physically interact with autonomous hardware in the robot and drone zone.
All right, you touch the tech.
Then you keep walking, the funnel narrows again, and you literally see 200 members of the workforce receiving accredited hands-on training for those exact systems. It physically moves the attendee from theory directly to tangible reality.
It really answers the ultimate enterprise question. Like, they aren't asking, what is the future of AI?
Right.
They're asking, how do I upskill my current workforce to operate this specific tool by next Monday?
Yes. And that urgency is everywhere in the source material.
Yeah.
The recurring mantra, printed literally across the documents, is applications you can deploy today.
Capital TODAY.
Exactly. This isn't an R&D showcase for some pie-in-the-sky tech that might mature in 2035.
No.
It is a marketplace engineered to match those 2,800 enterprise buyers directly with the 100 showcasing vendors.
And, the spectrum of those 100 vendors is really what makes the whole marketplace function.
Oh,
Well, you have these established multi-billion-dollar global tech brands showcasing right alongside hyper-local lean startups.
okay. Yeah.
So for the global suppliers, the Expo is a platform to build regional trust and, find local channel partners. But for the enterprise buyers, it is a place to solve their immediate, painful deployment bottlenecks.
I want to look critically at that dynamic for a second.
Yeah.
Between the massive global brands and the lean local startups.
Sure.
Because if I am a local innovator, right, and I have this great piece of AI software, but I'm sitting in a booth 50 feet away from a global cloud provider with an unlimited marketing budget.
Yeah, the Amazon or Google of the world.
Exactly. How do I not just get entirely swallowed up? Like, how do I compete for a CxO's attention?
That's the thing. You don't compete on infrastructure. You compete on application and agility.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the massive global brands, they provide the foundational compute layer, the heavy lifting. But they often do not understand the hyper-local nuances of, say, a Cape Town municipal grid.
Or a Lagos logistics network.
Exactly. The local startups are the ones building the highly customized application layer that sits directly on top of that global infrastructure.
Ah, okay. So they aren't necessarily predators and prey, they're actually symbiotic.
Exactly. And the buyers know this. Let's look at a specific testimonial from the source documents.
Yeah, bring it in.
There's a quote from Gordon Ings representing the city of Cape Town, which is a massive municipal buyer with really complex, localized needs.
Right.
He explicitly noted that his absolute personal highlight of the entire event was talking to the smaller vendors in the Innovation Cafe.
Wow. A massive municipal government actively bypassing the giant flashing booths to talk directly to the startups. That really proves the leverage the smaller players actually have.
It does, and the organizers engineer the floor plan to actively protect that leverage.
Wait, really? How?
They feature a dedicated startup zone plus investor matchmaking area. They actively construct pathways to ensure that buyers looking for agile, localized solutions have an unobstructed route to the startups building them.
That is so smart. It actively prevents the global giants from eclipsing the local innovators.
Exactly.
It ensures the whole ecosystem remains balanced. But, securing a deal, especially a massive enterprise-level technology contract, rarely happens right under the fluorescent lights of an expo booth.
Oh, never.
The actual mechanics of business rely on the relationships formed in the margins of the event, like the hallway conversations, the coffee lines, the dinners.
The connective tissue of the industry.
Yes, exactly. And the sources indicate that the networking infrastructure at AI Expo Africa is arguably as comprehensive as the actual speaking program.
Oh, it's extensive.
They detail 8 dedicated networking sessions woven directly into the schedule. They operate a fully catered VIP lounge, the meetup bar, a DJ, and selfie zone.
Sounds fun, honestly.
Right. Extended evening receptions and something called the networking BOMA.
Oh, yes. The networking BOMA is such a brilliant inclusion.
Can you explain that for the listeners?
Yeah, so for anyone unfamiliar, a boma is a traditional community enclosure, typically centered around a fire. It's used for gathering, storytelling, and collective decision-making.
Oh, I love that.
Taking that deeply traditional African concept of communal problem-solving and
Right.
applying it directly to cutting-edge AI enterprise networking, it just perfectly encapsulates the identity of the event.
It really anchors global technology in a distinctly local cultural context.
Exactly. It creates a psychological shift for the attendees, You move out of that high-pressure, transactional sales environment of the expo floor and into a truly collaborative space.
Hmm.
But the most crucial element of this connective tissue is that it does not just sever when the convention center doors close on October 29th.
Right. The event ends, but the work doesn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The thought leadership, and more importantly, the lead generation, extends year-round.
Let's actually examine how they achieve that sustained momentum, because the source material highlights a really critical tool here, Synapse Magazine.
Yes, Synapse Magazine serves as the official publication for AI Expo Africa and the South African AI Association.
Okay.
And like the event itself, it is entering its 9th year. It chronicles the entire development of the AI revolution across the continent.
And the documents specifically point to their Q4 post-show special, issue 27, right?
They do. It is totally free to read, and it boasts a global readership of over 15,000 across more than 130 countries.
The demographics of that readership are what really highlight the global relevance of this market for me.
Oh, it's a fascinating list.
The top 10 countries consuming this African AI magazine include South Africa, naturally, but also the USA, the UK, Kenya, Nigeria, Ireland, Ghana, India, Tunisia, and France.
It really functions as the official voice of the African AI narrative. Think about it, if a supplier launches a product at the expo, Synapse ensures that the announcement actually echoes in tech hubs from Silicon Valley to Bangalore. It provides suppliers with a continuous year-round platform for lead generation. It is essentially an ongoing API for visibility.
An API for visibility. That is a great way to capture it.
Right.
It isn't just a static recap of what happened. It's a live feed of ongoing innovation.
Exactly.
And they're also looking closely at the human pipeline. The sources mention partnerships with organizations like AI ESIC.
Right, which is a global platform entirely focused on developing youth leadership potential.
Exactly. And that indicates such a long-term strategic vision. They're not just facilitating enterprise growth for the current quarter.
No, they're actively integrating young talent to sustain the industry infrastructure for the next decade.
So as we, pull all these threads together, the overarching narrative of AI Expo Africa 2026 becomes incredibly clear.
It really does.
It is not just a standard trade show where people casually exchange business cards and grab free pens. It is a 9-year-old engine deliberately engineered to drive the continent's tech ecosystem. It forces physical tangibility by strictly demanding an in-person presence. It aggressively curates this elite audience, ensuring that over 80% of the room has the actual authority to deploy capital.
And it backs up that elite audience with a hyper-practical program, right? One that prioritizes solutions you can deploy today, actively addressing those unique regional challenges like sovereign AI and localized small language models.
Yeah.
And it structurally balances the raw, massive power of global tech brands with the vital agility of those local startups.
And then it sustains that entire ecosystem year-round through the global reach of Synapse Magazine.
Beautifully designed.
It is. So for you listening to this deep dive, whether you are analyzing global tech trends, looking for your next investment opportunity, or just trying to understand where enterprise AI is actually proving its worth,
Yeah.
keeping a close eye on how Africa adopts, adapts, and scales, this technology provides a high-definition preview of the future.
It really does, and it leaves us with a pretty critical dynamic to consider. Well, we explored how the African market's unique constraints, like bandwidth limitations, complex local dialects, and strict data sovereignty needs, they actually force developers to build incredibly efficient, lean AI models.
Right.
Constraints often breed the most resilient innovations. So as these uniquely African, highly optimized solutions mature, How long will it be before the rest of the world, which is currently facing its own power grid limitations and massive compute
Oh,
shortages,
wow.
how long before they stop trying to sell to Africa and start buying its blueprints?
What a profound shift in perspective. The solutions engineered to solve localized challenges in Johannesburg today might very well become the standard architecture required by the rest of the globe tomorrow.
Exactly.
The code has firmly hit the ground, and it is building something entirely new. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the African AI ecosystem. We will catch you next time.